in the middle of a wide open field, where the wind moves gently through tall grass and the sky stretches endlessly above the horizon. An old bus sits quietly as if it has been forgotten by time. There is no engine noise anymore, no passengers rushing to their seats, and no long journeys across busy roads. The bus has remained here for so long that nature itself has slowly begun to reclaim the space around it. The paint on the outside has peeled away in large patches. Rust spreads across the metal body like scars left behind by time. Most of the windows are broken, leaving only a few dull pieces of glass reflecting the fading sunlight of the afternoon. When the wind passes through the empty frame of the bus, thin metal panels vibrate softly, creating a hollow and lonely sound. At first glance, many people would simply see a giant pile of scrap metal, something useless that has been abandoned and left to decay slowly under the open sky. But sometimes the things that appear to be worthless hold the greatest potential. For us, this old bus is not scrap metal. It is an opportunity to prove that even something forgotten can be brought back to life. The idea is simple, yet bold, to transform this abandoned bus into a tiny home, a home surrounded by nature, a quiet place where someone could sit beside a window, look out across the open field, and feel a deep sense of peace. As we step closer to the bus, the old door lets out a loud creaking sound when it slowly opens. Inside, the air feels darker than outside. Sunlight enters only through the remaining windows, casting long streaks of light across the dusty floor. Rows of old bus seats remain inside, though many are broken. Some are covered with thick layers of dust, while others have already been invaded by nature. Dry leaves scatter across the floor as if the wind has been visiting this place for years. The air smells of old metal, dust, and time itself. But if you stand quietly for a moment and look carefully, you can begin to imagine something different. Not a bus, but a small home. At the back of the bus, there could be a small bed with soft blankets and pillows. In the middle, there could be a compact kitchen with a sink and wooden shelves. Along the windows, small green plants could bring life into the space. Little by little, the vision becomes clearer, and from that moment, the transformation begins. The first step is always cleaning. All the old seats must be removed completely. Every bolt and metal frame needs to be carefully taken apart. After years of abandonment, many of the parts are stuck tightly with rust. Removing them is not easy, but slowly, one by one, each seat is taken out of the bus. As the seats disappear, the interior begins to feel larger. More sunlight enters through the empty space. After many hours of work, all the seats are finally removed. At this moment, the bus looks completely different. It no longer feels like a vehicle. It feels like a long, empty room, a room waiting to become something new. We begin cleaning the entire floor. Dust, broken glass, and small metal fragments are swept away. The metal floor is then inspected carefully to ensure it is still strong enough. Some sections with heavy rust need to be reinforced. Once this step is completed, the next stage begins, installing a wooden floor. New wooden panels are carefully placed over the old metal base. When the first wooden board is installed, the entire atmosphere inside the bus begins to change. The cold metal feeling disappears. Warm wooden textures begin to fill the space. One board after another is installed. With each new panel, the long interior begins to feel more like a home. Sunlight shines across the wooden surface, creating a warm and inviting space that feels completely different from the beginning. From an abandoned bus, This place is slowly turning into a living space, and the transformation has only just begun. After the wooden floor was completed, the interior of the old bus began to feel completely different. What was once a dusty and rust-covered vehicle slowly started to resemble a warm living space. Sunlight coming through the remaining windows reflected on the new wooden floor, creating a calm and inviting atmosphere. But the transformation journey was far from finished. The old bus still carried many marks of time. The metal panels along the walls needed to be cleaned and repainted. Broken windows needed to be replaced. And most importantly, the entire interior had to be redesigned to function as a real home. We began by removing all the unnecessary metal frames that were still attached inside the bus. Some of these metal bars once supported the passenger seats. After many years, they had rusted heavily and were no longer useful. Removing them allowed the interior to feel much more open. Next, we carefully cleaned all the metal surfaces inside the bus. Layers of rust were scrubbed away, and years of dirt were removed. This step required patience and time, but it was necessary before moving forward. Once the metal surfaces were clean, we repainted the entire interior. A bright color was chosen to make the space appear larger and more welcoming. When the paint dried, the bus seemed to enter a completely new stage. It no longer felt cold or abandoned. The next step was the windows. All the broken glass panels were removed. Then new clear windows were installed in the frames. As sunlight passed through the transparent glass, the entire interior suddenly felt bright and full of life. This moment marked one of the most important stages of the transformation. Natural light has the power to bring any home to life. Standing inside the bus now and looking out across the wide open field, one could feel a special sense of freedom. The space may be small, but it opens toward an endless natural view. After the windows were completed, we began designing the living areas inside. At the back of the bus, we decided to place a small bed. A simple wooden bed frame was installed, followed by a mattress, pillows, and soft blankets. With just a few simple details, the space immediately became a comfortable resting corner. Next came the kitchen area. Even though the bus interior is limited in size, a bit of creativity allowed us to build a compact kitchen. A small sink was installed along one side. Next to it, a simple cooking stove was placed. Above the counter, wooden shelves were installed to hold dishes and kitchen supplies. Everything was arranged carefully to maximize functionality without making the space feel crowded. In the middle section of the bus, we placed a small table and 2 chairs. This area could be used for eating, working, or simply sitting down to enjoy a cup of tea. Small lights were installed along the ceiling of the bus. When turned on at night, the warm yellow glow creates a cozy and relaxing atmosphere. The space that once felt empty and lifeless now begins to resemble a real home. But one final detail remained. Plants. A few small green plants were placed near the windows. The color of the leaves brings life into the tiny space. When sunlight shines through in the morning, the leaves reflect the light beautifully. At that moment, the old bus truly begins to feel like a home. A small home, but one filled with creativity and inspiration. When the final details were completed, the old bus that once sat quietly in the middle of the field had become something entirely different. It was hard to believe that just a few weeks earlier, it had been nothing more than a rusted metal frame filled with dust and signs of decay. Now, stepping inside felt completely different. The cold feeling of old metal had disappeared. In its place was the warmth of wood, soft lighting from small lamps, and the calm atmosphere of a newly created space. The small bed at the back of the bus looks simple, yet incredibly inviting. Soft pillows and warm blankets turned the corner into a perfect resting spot after a long day. In the middle of the bus, the small table near the window became a perfect place to sit, enjoy a cup of tea, and look out at the surrounding landscape. The open field stretches endlessly outside, the wind gently moving through the tall grass, while the sky appears even larger when viewed through the small windows of this tiny home. Interestingly, although the space inside the bus is quite small, the thoughtful layout makes it feel comfortable and balanced. Every corner has a purpose, yet everything connects naturally within the space. The compact kitchen is simple but functional, allowing small meals to be prepared easily. Wooden shelves along the wall keep everything organized. Small plants near the windows bring life and freshness into the home. As the sun slowly sets behind the horizon, golden light enters through the windows and spreads softly across the interior. The warm sunset reflects beautifully on the wooden floor, creating a peaceful atmosphere. This is the moment when the transformation feels most powerful. From an abandoned bus, this place has become a home. When night arrives, the small lights inside the bus are turned on. Their warm glow shines through the windows, creating a peaceful scene in the quiet countryside. From a distance, the bus no longer looks like an old vehicle. It looks like a tiny glowing house sitting quietly in the middle of the field. A place where someone could come to rest, a place to escape the noise of the world, a place to enjoy the silence of nature. This project is not just about renovating an old bus. It is also a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful things come from what has been forgotten. The world around us is filled with objects that have been left behind, things that people no longer notice, but with a different perspective, we can see their potential. This bus was once nothing more than scrap metal abandoned in a field. Yet with creativity, effort, and patience, it has become a home. A small home, but one filled with meaning. A home that shows that anything can be given a second life. Sitting inside this tiny bus home at night and looking out the window at the stars above creates a very special feeling. Not luxury, not excessive comfort, but peace. And perhaps that is exactly what many people are searching for. A small space that is simple but warm. A place to pause. A place to breathe more slowly. A place to remember that sometimes the most wonderful things in life begin with something that seemed to have no value at all. The old bus in the field is no longer forgotten. It has become a home, a small dream in the middle of nature.